My name's Coz, and I'm so excited to be here today. I'm very humbled and grateful that I was able to make it here today. I want to talk to you today about my experiences with 1 Year to Live and kind of what got me there and how my life has changed since then. When I was a little boy and grew up with my two grandparents were farmers, so we worked a lot, and we were kind of close. We were really a close knit group, a family, and we had our community. And after that, I went to college, and there I got to play football for Lutheran College in Hickory, North Carolina, and I had my teammates, and I always had somebody around. Well, then I graduated college and went into the real world and started a family. And all of a sudden, I looked around, and since I'd relocated from North Carolina to South Carolina, I looked around. And the only people that I knew was the people that I worked with. There was no relationships there. There was nobody that I can confide in or turn to or even talk to or hang out with. It's just pretty much my wife and my kids, which is fine. But I poured myself into work because that's what I'd learned from growing up on a farm. That you worked hard, you provided for your family, and you had to be the rock, the strong person in the family, and whenever a crisis came about, you were supposed to stand up and take care of it. Well, I was running a moving company here in Columbia, South Carolina, and from time to time I would feel alone, but little did I know that God was working on me. I used to have to rent trailers, and there was a fella came that rented me trailers. His name was Brian Driggers. We got to be kind of friends and talk back and forth. Nothing too deep. He'd just come by and hang out when he rented me my trailers, and we'd go about our business. And then my kids, they were into gymnastics, so there was this fella called named Frank Baltnight that owned a gym, and I think at one time all three of my girls went there, and Amber, my youngest, she stayed there for a long time. And then my next door neighbor, he's Jimmy Smith. He moved in really close after I moved into there, and we were neighborly. I mean, we not a deep relationship. Frank and I would play golf. Jimmy and I would throw our hands up, maybe talk across the yard there, but they were there. And I didn't really realize what was happening at the moment, but I found out later that God had a plan in this. On August the 4th, 2013, my oldest daughter went to the hospital, and she was overdosed at the hospital, and they sent her home, and she passed away in her sleep. That was when I really felt alone. I knew I needed to be strong for my family, and I remember walking in and seeing her body laying in the bed, and all of a sudden that male thing, or whatever you want to call it, kicked in, and I started trying to fix stuff, and the grandkids were in the house, and I got them outside, and all those things that were happening, and I just felt like I needed to be strong for my family in that moment. That was when I felt really alone, and God had always been in my life, but at that moment I was really angry at him. And of course, I don't remember much about that time, but I do remember at some point Jimmy Smith had asked me to go to 1 Year to Live, and I think he was the platform leader at the time. And and I remember him asking me, and I was so mad at God at that moment. I was like, I'm sure I wasn't mean to Jimmy, but I just said, it's just something that I can't do. This was probably a month after Ashley had passed away. And but he kept asking. There was another retreat that followed right after in the spring of 2014, and he got a yes from me. But unfortunately, with my job, I couldn't go. And but something had started changing in my heart. I really felt like I wanted to be a part of this, and so fast forward to the fall, almost a year after my daughter had passed, he asked me again for a third time, and I'll forever be grateful to Jimmy for that, because he could have, after I told him no, or told him no one time and then I told him yes and didn't go the second time, he could have easily just gave up on me, but he didn't. And he asked me to come, and I said I'm going. And I remember that there was a fee involved in me going, and that night I was late getting off from work. We had to be there at 6:30, I think. I was late for getting off work, and so I ran by the ATM to pull money out to pay for the retreat, and my ATM card wouldn't work. And I knew there was money in there, so I went to another ATM. It didn't work. Well, comes to find out, in like that 2-hour window that I was trying to get this money out, Wells Fargo it was Wachovia at the time, had just completely messed up. I mean, their whole system went down. Nobody with Wachovia could get any money out. So I called Jimmy and I said, well, man, I'm not going to come, and he says, yeah, you can come. He says, I've got you. He says, I know you're good for it. You're my next door neighbor. And anyway, thinking back now, I was thinking about all the obstacles that Satan had put in my way to go to there. I know that up until that point, Satan was content with where I was at. I believed in God, but I wasn't following God. And he knew that when I got to this retreat that everything was about to change, and that's exactly what happened. I pull up to the front of the retreat, and I look up, and the first person I see is Frank Baltnick. I had no idea he was a part of this. He was remember, he owned the gym. I looked to my left, and there was Brian Driggers. Remember, he's the guy that did my trailer, and automatically I felt at ease. During this retreat, I met a man named Paul Cease, and I'm going to tell you that Paul has a story to tell of his own that would have kept him away from this retreat that he attended, and he was my leader, and I could have easily not have gone too, but he was my small group leader. And he was vulnerable. He told me his story. He let me into his life, and it made me comfortable enough to share my story and why I was there. And part of the reason why I thought that I could share my story with him was because I didn't know him, and I would probably never see him after I left this retreat. And so I opened up and had just an amazing weekend. I got there. I realized that the people that were running this retreat, they didn't care about the color of my skin, how much money I had in the bank, whether I was a blue collar worker or white collar worker. They didn't care who I was. They didn't care where I came from. All they cared about was they wanted to share the good news of Jesus Christ. I felt welcome as soon as I walked in there, and had an amazing weekend. But it didn't stop there. Paul, the guy that I thought I would never see again, he and I have been on a journey for the last 6 years. He's become a person of peace for me. Jimmy Smith, my next door neighbor, is now my brother. He is my person of peace. He's that person that I call on when I need advice, or if I need to hang out, or I need to unload something. He's that person that's there. And I also, during the weekend, realized that God had a mission for me. And remember, I said Satan was content. Well, the reason Satan was content was because I knew who God was, and I prayed. I said my prayers, but I wasn't building or locating people that needed to hear my story and hear the good news of Jesus Christ. The guys that just sit on the sidelines and pray and go to church and but hold it inside. That Satan's content with that. But when we start wanting to share that, and that weekend was so amazing, I wanted to share it with everybody. I wanted everybody to experience what I had just experienced. And once you go through that experience and you see somebody else give their life to Jesus, and I'll tell you a real quick story. My business partner is Coz Costner. He was a very spiritual person, but he was agnostic. And he was my business partner, and I remember at one time him laughing at me because I was a Christian. But after I came back from the retreat, he saw something in me. And he kept asking questions. And as time went by, he asked enough questions. I said, why don't you just come check it out for yourself? And he did. And he left that retreat. He came to the retreat not believing. He believed that Jesus walked the face of the earth, but he did not believe that Jesus died for him and me. But after going through that retreat and experiencing what he experienced, he gave himself to Jesus, and he accepted Jesus as his Lord and Savior as well. 6 months later, he slid off the side of the mountain while he was hiking all by himself and broke his leg in 2 places. And he told me that he knew he was going to die, but he cried out to God. And there happened to be one person that ended up being over a mile away from him, heard his cry and came and saved him. He got him off that mountain. I'm thinking back about all the folks that God has put in my life. I met my spiritual fathers there, Paul, Tim. I've met so many persons of peace. I've met so many brothers that I'm on a journey with right now. And I want to be a part of their journey. And I want them to be a part of my journey. And I also, when God puts somebody in my path, whether it be at a flea market or at a grocery store, and God calls me to talk to him and tell him my story, then I want to be there for those folks. And in closing, I just want to challenge you. I'm going to give you the dates of the retreats. We've got one at Tracy's Camp in South Carolina. That is September the 25th, 26th, and 27th. There's also another one in Tennessee that's October 9th, 10th, and 11th. And if you want any information about that, you can contact me or Jimmy Smith about those, or Mike Raw if you know him. I would encourage you to at least give this a try. And if this isn't your mission, I guarantee you'll find it there, and you'll find people there that want to support you in that mission. and support you in your ministry. And in closing, I want to challenge you that are listening to us right now. I was sitting around trying to figure out what my mission was going to be, and I was kind of struggling because I wanted to like pin it down and put it on the wall so I could work towards that. I have a mission statement that I have, but I wanted to have a mission. Like, what am I trying to do? And I'm really excited about doing children's ministry. I'm trying to one of my drivers, his son was killed in a gang-related shooting. He and I have been trying to organize something in Lancaster, and I keep having roadblocks, and so I came up with my mission is to listen. God's going to lay something on your heart. Maybe He's laying it on it right now. Maybe, but I challenge you to listen to what God's got for you. And when you listen and you obey, amazing things will happen. And I appreciate your time today. God bless.